There's a reason this story found its way to you today. In a world where headlines shift faster than we can process them, where global powers rise and fall, where we sense something deeper moving beneath the surface of world events, ancient wisdom calls out to those ready to see beyond the veil. What you're about to discover has been hidden in plain sight for over 2,000 years, waiting for moments like ours when the pattern finally becomes clear. We think we understand history. We study empires, analyze geopolitics, track the rise and fall of nations through economic cycles and military conquests. We see the surface movements, the obvious players, the documented treaties and wars. But what if everything we think we know about world history is just the visible tip of an iceberg? What if the real story, the true driving force behind every empire that has ever existed, operates in a dimension we cannot see with our eyes? This is not conspiracy theory. This is not speculation. This is the account of a man who was given a window into the spiritual architecture that governs all earthly kingdoms. His name was Daniel, and what he saw in a vision by the river in ancient Babylon reveals the secret engine that has been driving world history from the beginning and will continue until the very end. The year was 553 BC. Jerusalem lay in ruins. The temple of God had been destroyed, its treasures carried away to Babylon. The people of God found themselves exiles in a foreign land, servants in the court of the very king who had devastated their homeland. For many, it seemed that God had abandoned his promises, that the covenant was broken, that the story was over. Daniel had been in Babylon for decades now. Once a young man torn from his homeland, he had risen to become one of the most trusted advisors in the empire. He had interpreted dreams for kings, survived the lion's den, and witnessed the fall of Babylon to the Persians. He had seen enough to know that earthly kingdoms were fragile things, here today and gone tomorrow.
But on this particular night, as he lay on his bed in the first year of King Belshazzar's reign, the heavens opened in a way they never had before. What Daniel saw was not just a dream, it was a revelation that would explain the spiritual reality behind every empire that had ever existed and every one that ever would exist. Daniel describes the moment with precision that still sends chills down the spine. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel saw a dream and visions of his head as he lay on his bed. Then he wrote down the dream and told the sum of the matter. The vision began with the Great Sea, that ancient symbol of chaos and the unknown, stirred up by the four winds of heaven. This was no ordinary storm. This was the spiritual realm breaking into the visible world, revealing forces that had been operating in secret since the foundation of the world. And then they emerged from the waters, 4 beasts. But these were not ordinary creatures. These were the true forms of what we call world empires, their spiritual essence revealed at last. The first beast was like a lion, but with eagle's wings. Daniel watched in amazement as the wings were plucked off and the creature was lifted up from the earth and made to stand on 2 feet like a man, and the mind of a man was given to it. This was Babylon, the golden head of human civilization, majestic and powerful, but ultimately limited by human thinking and human frailty. Think about this for a moment. We see the Babylonian Empire in our history books as a collection of buildings, armies, and administrative systems. But Daniel saw its true nature, its spiritual character. Every empire has a spiritual character, a driving force that operates beyond mere politics and economics. Babylon was the lion with eagle's wings, magnificent in its reach, soaring above all other nations, but eventually grounded and reduced to human limitations.
The second beast was unlike anything in the natural world. It was like a bear raised up on one side with 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth. A voice commanded it, "Arise, devour much flesh." This was the Medo-Persian Empire, asymmetrical in its power structure, insatiable in its appetite for conquest. The 3 ribs represented the 3 major kingdoms it would devour: Babylon, Lydia, and Egypt. But notice something crucial here. Daniel isn't just seeing future politics. He's seeing the spiritual hunger that drives imperial expansion. Every empire tells itself stories about bringing civilization, peace, and prosperity to the world. But stripped of its propaganda, the spiritual reality is simple. Arise, devour much flesh. The driving force is consumption, absorption, the endless appetite that can never be satisfied. We see this pattern repeated throughout history. The British Empire convinced itself it was bringing civilization to the world. The Soviet Union believed it was liberating the oppressed. Modern superpowers speak of spreading democracy and freedom. But the spiritual reality remains the same: the insatiable hunger to devour, to absorb, to make everything part of itself. The third beast was even more revealing. It appeared like a leopard, but with 4 wings of a bird on its back, and it had 4 heads. Dominion was given to it. This was the Greek Empire under Alexander the Great, moving with the speed of a leopard and the swiftness of wings, but destined to fragment into 4 heads after Alexander's death. Here's what's remarkable. Daniel saw this vision in 553 BC, more than 2 centuries before Alexander was even born. But the prophecy captures not just the speed of Greek conquest, but the internal contradiction that would destroy it. Alexander conquered the known world in just 12 years, moving faster than any empire before or since. But the very speed that made the conquest possible made unified rule impossible. The empire fragmented, exactly as Daniel saw, into 4 major divisions under Alexander's generals.
This reveals something profound about the nature of spiritual vision. When you see the true spiritual character of something, you understand not just what it is, but what it must become. The Greek Empire carried within its essence both its greatest strength and its fatal weakness. Its spiritual DNA demanded speed, but speed without deeper foundation leads inevitably to fragmentation. But the 4th beast defied all earthly comparisons. Daniel struggled for words to describe what he saw. After this, I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, terrifying and dreadful and exceedingly strong. It had great iron teeth. It devoured and broke in pieces and stamped what was left with its feet. It was different from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. This was Rome, but Rome as something beyond a mere human empire. This was empire as a spiritual principle, empire as an organizing force that would outlast any particular nation or culture. Iron teeth that devour and break in pieces, feet that stamp and crush what remains, and 10 horns representing 10 forms of power that would emerge from its foundation. Rome was different because it didn't just conquer territories, it created a template for empire that would be copied and adapted for millennia. The Roman system of law, administration, military organization, and cultural assimilation became the blueprint for every major empire that followed. The British Empire was Rome with ships. The Soviet Union was Rome with ideology. Modern globalization is Rome with technology. But then Daniel saw something that changed everything. As he watched this terrifying fourth beast, a small horn emerged among the 10, and 3 of the original horns were plucked up by the roots to make room for it. This little horn had eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. Daniel was deeply troubled by this vision. The fourth beast and its little horn represented something beyond ordinary political power. This was empire as spiritual rebellion, power that speaks against the Most High and seeks to change times and laws, to remake reality itself according to its own vision.
And then the scene shifted to something that no human eye had ever witnessed. Thrones were placed, and the Ancient of Days took his seat. His clothing was white as snow, and the hair of his head like pure wool. His throne was fiery flames, its wheels were burning fire. A stream of fire issued and came out from before him. Thousands upon thousands served him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The court sat in judgment, and the books were opened. This was the spiritual reality behind all earthly thrones. Every human empire, no matter how powerful, operates under a higher authority. The ultimate judgment belongs not to presidents or kings or prime ministers, but to the Ancient of Days, whose dominion is everlasting and whose kingdom endures from generation to generation. But the vision wasn't finished. As Daniel watched the heavenly court in session, he saw one like a son of man coming with the clouds of heaven. He came to the Ancient of Days and was presented before him. And to him was given dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all peoples, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom one that shall not be destroyed. This is the ultimate revelation of Daniel's vision. All human empires, no matter how impressive, are temporary arrangements. Babylon falls to Persia, Persia falls to Greece, Greece fragments and falls to Rome. Rome itself, for all its strength, eventually crumbles. Every earthly kingdom contains within itself the seeds of its own destruction. But there is one kingdom that operates by different principles entirely. It's not built on conquest, but on service. It's not maintained by force, but by love. It doesn't expand by devouring flesh, but by transforming hearts. And it will never fall because it's founded not on human strength, but on the unshakable character of the Ancient of Days.
Daniel was so overwhelmed by what he had seen that he approached one of those standing there and asked about the truth concerning all this. The angel's interpretation was clear. These 4 great beasts are 4 kings who shall arise out of the earth, but the saints of the Most High shall receive the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, forever and ever. Here's what makes this vision so relevant to our time. We're living in the continuation of the 4th beast. The Iron Empire of Rome never truly ended, it simply adapted and evolved. The European Union bears the Roman symbol of 12 stars. The United States inherited Roman legal traditions and architectural symbols. Global corporations operate with Roman efficiency and reach.
the template of Iron Empire continues to shape our world. But we're also living in the time of the little horn with eyes like a man and a mouth speaking great things. We see powers that claim authority over reality itself, that seek to redefine truth, that promise to solve all human problems through technology and control. We see the rise of systems that demand not just political submission, but total allegiance, that seek to reshape not just laws, but consciousness itself. And yet, the vision reminds us that all of this is temporary. Every empire that has ever existed has followed the same spiritual pattern. It emerges from the chaos of the sea. It grows in power and confidence. It begins to speak great things, making promises it cannot keep. And eventually, it encounters the unmoving reality of the Ancient of Days, whose kingdom operates by entirely different principles. The vision that Daniel received that night in Babylon wasn't just about ancient history, it was about the spiritual forces that continue to shape our world today. When we see nations rise and fall, when we witness the emergence of new forms of global power, when we sense that something deeper is moving beneath the surface of world events, we're seeing the continuation of the pattern Daniel first revealed.
But there's something else in Daniel's vision that we haven't fully explored yet. The angel told him that the saints of the Most High shall receive the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever. This isn't just about watching from the sidelines while spiritual forces battle for control. This is about understanding that there's a different kind of citizenship available, a different kind of allegiance possible. Every earthly empire demands our ultimate loyalty. It promises security, prosperity, meaning, and purpose in exchange for our complete commitment. But Daniel's vision reveals that these promises are built on sand. Every earthly kingdom, no matter how powerful, is temporary. Only the kingdom of the Son of Man endures forever. This doesn't mean withdrawing from the world or ignoring earthly responsibilities. Daniel himself served faithfully in multiple empires while maintaining his ultimate allegiance to the Ancient of Days. But it does mean understanding which kingdom is ultimate and which kingdoms are provisional. When Nebuchadnezzar demanded that everyone bow to his golden image, Daniel's three friends understood something that most people missed. They weren't just refusing to worship an idol, they were refusing to give ultimate allegiance to a temporary kingdom. Their statement to the king reveals the principle that guided their lives. Our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But if not, be it known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up. This is the wisdom that comes from seeing earthly kingdoms in the light of eternal reality. You can serve faithfully in temporary systems while reserving ultimate allegiance for the permanent kingdom. You can work for earthly good while recognizing earthly limitations. You can engage with political processes while maintaining perspective about political promises.
The vision also reveals something crucial about the nature of spiritual warfare. The battles that really matter aren't just between earthly nations. They're between spiritual kingdoms with fundamentally different principles. The kingdom of the Son of Man operates by self-sacrifice, service, and love. The kingdoms of earth, no matter how benevolent they appear, ultimately operate by consumption, control, and self-interest. This means that the most important choices we make aren't just about which earthly kingdom to support, but about which set of kingdom principles to embody in our daily lives. Do we solve problems through domination or service? Do we seek security through control or trust? Do we pursue meaning through consumption or contribution? Daniel's vision shows us that these aren't just personal lifestyle choices, they're fundamental spiritual allegiances that connect us to one kingdom or another. And the kingdom we choose to serve will ultimately determine not just our eternal destiny, but our present character and influence. As Daniel pondered all that he had seen, he was deeply troubled. As for me, Daniel, my spirit within me was anxious, and the visions of my head alarmed me. The weight of seeing spiritual reality can be overwhelming. Once you understand the temporary nature of all earthly systems and the eternal significance of spiritual choices, you can never go back to naive political optimism or simple earthly hope. But the vision also provides profound comfort. No matter how powerful earthly empires become, no matter how permanent they seem, no matter how much they promise or threaten, they are all temporary arrangements, operating under the ultimate authority of the Ancient of Days. The wheels of his throne are burning fire, and his dominion is everlasting. This doesn't mean that earthly kingdoms don't matter, or that we shouldn't work for justice and peace within temporary systems. But it does mean that our ultimate hope and security rest in something far more solid than any political movement, economic system, or human institution.